Eskom announced stage 3 load shedding this weekend, citing breakdowns in several of its power stations. Now, the power cuts come after 10 months of uninterrupted supply. I had to say it like that. The power utility has since suspended load shedding. Electricity Minister Dr Kgosientsho Ramokgopa joins us now to chat more. Dr. Ramokgopa, good morning to you and welcome. Our technical director, Mzamo, says Orlando Pirates won 1-0, of course, in the Soweto derby, and load shedding ended. I don't know if there's a connection between those two things, but I don't know if you heard the collective groan and moan across the country when the lights went out. South Africans just felt so defeated. How did you feel?
Well, extremely disappointed. I mean, good morning to you, Iman, and good morning to the viewers at home. Extremely disappointed because we have had a good run. As you put it, 10 months of uninterrupted supply of electricity. Of course, we don't want to make the load shedding commonplace. We want to eradicate it in our at least vocabulary. Well, that might be difficult, but at least as an experience in our country. But the comfort I had is that the trend line is going in the right direction. By that I mean, in terms of our overall recovery plan, we are heading in the right direction. All the matrices in relation to the energy action plans are going in the right places. Things like the energy availability factor moved from 55%, now averaging close to 64%. Less reliance on diesel overall over the period. Of course, during the past few weeks, we have been relying on it. Eskom projected to return to profitability, and also our ability to keep within the emissions requirements. So yes, the overall trend is in the right direction. But I guess that the confidence is built if we were able to keep the lights on. When we had to initiate that stage 3 load shedding because we had depleted our reserves, I think it was a major disappointment. But I was saying to the team that our first priority is to protect the grid, and then secondly is to ensure that over a period of time we're able to return the country to energy security. And I want to say to those who are listening this morning, we are on the right track, and that's why the turnaround even this time around was about less than 30 hours. It speaks to the resilience of the grid, even in instances where we had 6 major units, 3 at Matimba, 3 at Letabo, 2 of our best performing power stations, taking out 3,600 megawatts. We still had enough capacity, man. That's the point I want to make, even at the point when we initiated load shedding. But what we wanted to do was that we want to ensure that the reserves are in place, and that's what we had achieved between 17 hours on Friday and 6 in the morning on Sunday. And the outlook looks exceptionally good going into the week.
So you've just said too, and we know this, of course, Eskom's best performing power stations, Matimba and Letabo, experienced multiple failures at the beginning of last week. What exactly went wrong for the engineers in the building?
Well, it's what we call boiler tube leaks. It's a common occurrence in these machines, especially the machines of this age. What we've been doing as part of the recovery is to bring specialists in the area of boiler tube repairs. And if you were to measure the frequency of the occurrence of boiler tube leaks since we took over, we have brought it down significantly. So even on that matrix, we are still in the right direction, but it will be a height of folly to suggest to the country that we have resolved all of those issues. We're still making steady but sure progress in the right direction. And I'm more than confident that when we synchronize unit number 6 of Kusile, when we bring back Matimba unit number 4 from a 4-year outage, we're adding another 1,600 megawatts. So we'll be having a different conversation about the prospect of eliminating load shedding once and for all. But the point we're making is that the sustained period of no load shedding and our ability to be able to protect the grid and also ensure that The South African economy has got the necessary generation capacity to meet its current demand, but also future demand. And remember that I'm only accounting for the generation capacity that is sitting with the ESCOM. As a result of the amendment to the Electricity Regulation Act, you are seeing that there's a huge pipeline of new generation capacity that's coming from the private sector. Once that lands, I think we're in an exceptionally good space. But for now, I'm accounting for that generation capacity from ESCOM because that is within our grasp, that is within our control, is our fleet of generating units. The others are sitting with the private sector. They must still get to financial flows. They're still on their own timelines of development and construction before they bring it onto the grid. At the time at which they come, we'll account for it. But I'm talking about what is within our domain, a span of control, which is ESCOM. We are on the right track. And like I said over the weekend, I regret and also apologize that we had to go through this period. But yes, we do expect that there will be setbacks. The turnaround was very quick. Like I said, the outlook going into the week is exceptionally positive. And I think that communicates to the overall state of the grid. And that's why I've been making the point that load shedding is, the end of load shedding is within touching distance. We have not yet resolved it, but I want to give the assurance to the country that we are definitely on course to get it right after over 10 years of having load shedding at various degrees. And we know that in 2023 it was the most intense. We are bringing that down. But the point is, we shouldn't be having load shedding in the first place. And that's my assignment. Will be attending to it. And then the last one on this question is the issue of load reduction. It will be receiving my attention after the State of the Nation address. I'm waiting for the president just to announce some of the interventions, and I'll come next week to elaborate on the details so that we get electricity to everyone, fix the distribution and reticulation infrastructure, substations and transformers, so that there shouldn't be any household in this country that experiences any periods of no electricity during parts of the day.
Now, Minister, here's my challenge. I've got 2 minutes and 2 questions to ask you, which I must get out. So, you know, especially on the AM report, water disappears like water through a colander. So the first thing is, you talked about less reliance on diesel. Of course, we leaned on diesel. Less reliance on diesel. We leaned on diesel to get us through, as you say, this 30-hour period where the turnaround happened. How much did we spend on that? And then the final one was around the South African Human Rights Commission. You would have seen, and I know you've spoken about load reduction before, and in a sense empathize with people who experience load reduction in a context of no load shedding. But the SAHRC has now opened up this investigation relating to complaints that load reduction is targeting poor communities. So let's start with the diesel cost and quickly address the SAHRC investigation.
No, the reason why we initiated load shedding over the weekend is that we stopped all generation from diesel. So we spent zero. So we didn't lean on diesel. That's the point I'm making. Because we're replenishing. So there was zero expenditure on diesel because we're replenishing the tanks so that we've got the reserve margins to defend the grid. And so that when we go into this week, we don't have to rely on diesel unless if there's major failures and then the diesel generation comes in. Remember that that is generation of last resort. Is a defense mechanism. It's not a normality that we rely on diesel. On the HSRC, yes, they've invited me to come and make representation, and I've accepted. I have a duty. We have a duty to provide electricity for all, and I'll be going to the HSRC sitting to explain to them the efforts we are making to ensure that we eliminate the load reduction. I'm not going there to explain load reduction. I'm going there to explain how we are going to resolve it, and that's very, very important. And they are justified to raise this question that I think it tramples on people's human rights, the quality of life and their dignity. And as a Minister of Electricity, I have an obligation to ensure that everyone has got electricity, and I'll be sharing with them the interventions that we're making.
Electricity Minister Dr Kgosientsho Ramokgopa, good morning. Well, thank you very much for being with us this morning, and thank you for dealing with all of those issues. Again, just reflecting on the weekend.